Wrexham, a historic town in North Wales, where I went to sixth form college, Yale College. It might seem like an unlikely place for one of the most controversial figures in American history. But right here, born in 1649, was Elihu Yale, a name that would go on to be tied to education, wealth, and some darker chapters of history. Elihu Yale was born into a wealthy merchant family. At the age of 10, he moved with his family to America, where they would later settle in New Haven, Connecticut. Yale would become a successful businessman, eventually building a fortune in the East India Company, one of the most influential colonial trading companies of the time. Through his work with the company, Yale amassed a fortune, dealing in textiles, spices, and precious goods. But this wealth, like so many of his contemporaries, was deeply connected to the dark history of the slave trade. Elihu Yale's success was in part due to his involvement with the East India Company's trade in human beings. As the company expanded, so did the brutal practice of slavery. Yale personally benefited from the exploitation of enslaved Africans who were forced to work on plantations and in factories. Despite his wealth and success, Yale's legacy is controversial. After returning to Britain, Yale made a generous donation to a fledgling college in Connecticut, which would eventually be named after him, Yale University. While his name graces one of the most prestigious universities in the world today, it's crucial to acknowledge the darker side of his fortune, one built on the exploitation of enslaved people. In recent years, there's been a growing conversation about how to reckon with this history. Yale University, among other institutions, is facing pressure to confront and address its founding figures' ties to the slave trade. Today, it's important to reflect on his contributions to education, but also the uncomfortable truths of how his wealth was amassed. His story, like many others, reminds us of the complexity of history and the need for honest conversations about the past.